Swing cases clicked nervously as he entered the Grand Council chamber. The diplomat had seen many species in his 200 years of life, but today would be different. Today, he would meet humans for the first time. The chamber floated in neutral space, a massive station where the galaxy's powers gathered to settle disputes. Crystal walls showed the stars outside, and representatives from 40 different species filled the curved seats. Took his position in the observers section, his compound eyes recording everything for his empire's archives. The delegation entered first. They were large, muscular beings with gray skin and sharp teeth. Their empire controlled 300 star systems, and their military was feared across the galaxy. Admiral led them, his decorated uniform showing countless victories. He moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost. "The humans will surrender quickly," announced to anyone who would listen. "They are children playing at being adults, 40 years in space. We have been traveling the stars for 10,000 years." Other delegates nodded in agreement. The humans were new, inexperienced, and weak. Everyone knew this. They had only a few dozen colony worlds and a small fleet, the wanted 3 of their best planets, rich in rare minerals. It seemed obvious the humans would give them up rather than face destruction. Then the human delegation arrived. Attention sharpened. 3 humans walked into the chamber and the room fell silent. They were smaller than most species present, their skin a soft tan color, their bodies seemingly fragile. But something about them made uneasy. The tall male in military uniform moved like water, smooth and controlled. Captain, according to his information tablet. His dark eyes scanned the room once, then settled forward. He showed no emotion at all. Beside him walked Ambassador, a female with long dark hair tied back simply. She wore plain diplomatic robes, nothing fancy. But when she looked at someone, they felt it. Noticed even Admiral shifted slightly under her gaze. The third human, Commander, carried data tablets and walked slightly behind. She was shorter than the others, with sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to count and calculate everything they saw. The humans took their seats without ceremony. No grand entrance, no show of power. They simply sat down and waited. "Let us begin," the council speaker announced, their translated voice echoing. "The Dominion has made demands of the human coalition. 3 colony worlds must be surrendered within 30 days, or military action will commence." Admiral stood, his massive frame towering. "The humans have taken worlds that rightfully belong to us. These systems existed long before their species even left their home planet. We claim them by right of discovery and power. The humans cannot hope to defend them against our fleet of 40,000 warships." He turned to face the humans directly. "Surrender now, and your species will be allowed to exist as vassals. Your technology will be absorbed, your worlds will provide resources for the Dominion. Refuse, and you will be eliminated." The chamber waited. Several species whispered among themselves. The odds were clear. They had 200 ships for every 1 human vessel. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a formality before conquest. Ambassador stood slowly. She did not seem angry or frightened. She simply looked tired, as if she had seen this scene play out before. "The colony worlds in question were legally settled under galactic law," she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but it carried clearly. "No prior claims existed. We followed every protocol. Your demand has no legal basis." "Legal basis," laughed, and many in the chamber joined him. "Little human, the strong do not need legal basis. We have the ships, we have the weapons. What do you have?" Looked at him for a long moment. Saw something flicker in her eyes, something that made his wing cases click again involuntarily. "We have resolve," said simply. "We formally decline your demands. However, in the interest of peace, we request 30 days to prepare our response." The chamber erupted. Species called out in shock and amusement. 30 days to prepare. Prepare what? Their funeral. Captain stood beside. He still showed no emotion, but he placed one hand on the table. 30 days, he repeated. Use them to reconsider. Admiral's laughter boomed. 30 days. I give you 30 days to watch as we position our fleet. 30 days to see the unstoppable force coming for you. 30 days to realize your mistake before we burn your worlds to ash. Commander stood now, her voice quiet but clear. The 30 days are not for us, she said. They are for you, to change your mind, to choose peace instead of war. Peace? Sneered. You are outnumbered 200 to 1. You have been in space for less than a human lifetime. You know nothing of war. This will not be a battle, it will be an extermination. Nodded slowly. Then you have made your choice. The 30 days begin now. She gathered her materials. This council session is concluded from our perspective. We will see you all again when this is over. The humans walked out without another word. No threats, no posturing, no anger. They simply left. Sat in stunned silence. Something was wrong. The humans should have been terrified. They should have been begging for mercy. Instead, they seemed disappointed, as if they had hoped for a different outcome but were not surprised by this one. After the session ended, returned to his quarters and began researching. His role as observer required understanding all parties. What he found in the human data archives made his blood run cold. Humans had been recording their history for thousands of years, and in all that time, in every major conflict, humans had never lost a war. They had fought among themselves constantly, learning and adapting with each battle. Their military history was longer than some species' entire civilizations. There were terms in human databases that had no translation: total war, scorched earth, acceptable losses, concepts that seemed barbaric to most galactic species. One document stood out. It was a human military principle. The enemy gets a vote. Read the explanation. It meant that in war, the enemy's actions and choices mattered. That warfare was not about superior numbers alone, but about adaptation, deception, and will. Another principle: no plan survives contact with the enemy. Humans expected their plans to fail and built flexibility into everything. Looked at the timeline. The humans had 30 days. They were already celebrating victory. Admiral had announced his fleet would march in full force, overwhelming the humans with sheer numbers. But something Ambassador had said echoed in his mind. The 30 days are not for us. They are for you. What did that mean? Decided he needed to see this conflict firsthand. As an observer, he could embed with either fleet. Most observers would choose the predicted winner, but curiosity demanded answers. He filed a request to observe with both sides alternating. The approved immediately, eager to have a witness to their great victory. The humans took 3 days to respond, then simply sent coordinates and a schedule. 27 days remained until the fleet would march to war. Had witnessed many conflicts in his long career. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had documented the outcomes of hundreds of battles. But as he looked at the human response, so calm and measured, he felt something he had rarely experienced in his long life. Fear. His first visit was to the war fleet. Admiral welcomed him aboard the flagship with pride. Watch and record, said, gesturing at the vast displays showing thousands of ships. You will witness the swift end of human expansion. They thought themselves worthy of the stars. We will teach them their place. The command center buzzed with activity. Officers moved between stations, coordinating the massive fleet. Their confidence filled the room like a physical presence. They had fought and won many campaigns. This would be no different. The humans are scattering their ships, an officer reported. No defensive formations, no fortress worlds. They appear to be confused. Laughed, as expected. They have no concept of real warfare. Let them scatter. It will make hunting them easier. Recorded everything, but his mind kept returning to the human's calmness. He had requested time with the human fleet as well, and his transport to their territory was scheduled for 3 days hence. When he arrived at the human staging area, the difference was striking. Where the fleet gathered in massive, intimidating formations, human ships moved in small groups, constantly shifting positions. They looked less like a military force and more like a swarm of insects, each moving independently yet somehow coordinated. Admiral Wu met personally. The human was older than the others had met, with gray in his short hair and lines around his eyes. He moved without hurry, speaking in quiet, measured tones. "Welcome, observer," Wu said. "I understand you wish to document both sides of this conflict." "It is my duty," responded. "I must remain neutral." "Of course," Wu gestured for to follow. "Come, I will show you what we are doing, though I suspect it will seem strange to you." They entered the human command center. It was smaller than the one, with fewer displays and less shouting. Officers worked quietly at their stations. The atmosphere felt calm, almost casual, but noticed how quickly orders were given and executed, how efficiently information flowed. "Why are your ships not gathering?" asked. "They say you are confused." "Do they?" Wu smiled slightly. "Good." He pulled up a star map. Red markers showed human colonies. Blue markers showed fleet positions. "Tell me, observer, what do you see?" Studied the display. "They are positioning to strike your 3 contested worlds simultaneously, a standard overwhelming assault." "And our ships?" Looked at the scattered green markers representing human vessels. They seemed randomly placed, with no clear defensive strategy. "I see. Disorder." "Exactly," Wu nodded. "That is what we want them to see." Before could ask more questions, a young human officer approached. "Admiral, engineer reports the asteroid installations are ahead of schedule. She says they will be ready in 15 days. "Good, tell her to take her time. We have 23 days left." The officer left and curiosity grew. "What installations?" "Mining operations," Wu said smoothly. "We are always expanding our resource gathering." It was clearly a partial truth at best. Made a note to investigate later. Over the next week, moved between both fleets. The contrast grew sharper each day. They grew more confident, their preparations focused on overwhelming force. They gathered supplies, positioned ships, and ran simulation after simulation of their assault. The humans, meanwhile, did something that shocked to his core. They evacuated their colonies. Watched as millions of civilians left the 3 contested worlds. Ships moved constantly, carrying people to safer systems. Buildings stood empty. Infrastructure remained intact, but the people were gone. "Why?" asked Captain, who was overseeing one evacuation. "Why abandon your worlds?" Looked at him with those calm, dark eyes. "We are not abandoning them. We are protecting our people." "But you lose the territory without fighting." "Territory is dirt and rock and buildings," said simply. "It can be rebuilt. People cannot. If we must choose between defending land and defending lives, we choose lives every time. They will see this as weakness. Let them." Another puzzling piece. Recorded it all but understood none of it. On the 15th day, something else strange happened. The humans released detailed scans of their 3 colony worlds to the complete layouts of defenses, infrastructure, everything. "Have they gone mad?" Admiral howled with laughter when he received the data. "They give us their defensive plans. They truly are children." His officers celebrated. With this information, the assault would be even easier. They could identify the best landing zones, the weakest defensive points. The humans had just guaranteed their own defeat. But noticed that Admiral Wu did not seem concerned when he heard this reaction. "You gave them your colony layouts," said to Wu. "Why?" "Because we wanted them to have that information," Wu replied. "That makes no sense." "It will." On the 20th day, met Dr. Sora, a human who was studying alien species. She seemed friendly, asking about culture and biology. But near the end of their conversation, she said something odd. You know, observer, predators on Earth evolved many hunting strategies, but the most successful ones all shared one trait. What trait? Asked, his curiosity piqued despite himself. Patience, the ability to wait for exactly the right moment, to let the prey think it is safe, to let it come to you. She smiled, but there was something unsettling in her expression. Earth's apex predators were pack hunters, you see. They worked together. One would drive the prey, others would wait in ambush. The prey thought it was escaping until it realized it was running exactly where the predators wanted it to go. Felt his wing cases twitch. Why are you telling me this? Just making conversation, Sora said lightly. You asked what humans are like. I am telling you where we come from. On the 27th day, the final council meeting took place. Admiral stood before the assembled species, his chest puffed with pride. The time for talk has ended, he announced. The humans have had their 30 days. They have evacuated their worlds like cowards. Tomorrow my fleet marches. Tomorrow we claim what is rightfully ours. Ambassador stood. She looked more tired than before, as if she had not slept well. Commander stood beside her, along with Captain. You were given 30 days to reconsider, said quietly. To choose peace over war. You have chosen war. We have chosen victory, roared. Closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them. We gave you our colony layouts. We showed you everything. We gave you every advantage. We did this to make absolutely certain you understood what you were choosing. Yes, yes, waved dismissively. You gave us the keys to your own defeat. Very foolish. No, said, and her voice carried something sharp now, something that made even pause. We gave you every chance to see that this was not worth it. We made it easy. We made it so easy that you would think it was a trap, and you still chose to attack. She gathered her materials. So be it. When this is over, remember that you were given every opportunity to walk away. Captain stepped forward. 40,000 ships against our small fleet. Your military history says this is impossible for us to win, but you do not know our history. Your history, laughed. You are bobbies in the galaxy. Our history with ourselves, Commander said softly. We fought among our own kind for thousands of years. We learned lessons you have never needed to learn. We learned what war truly costs. The three humans left the chamber. This time, no one laughed. There was something in their manner, in the way they walked, that made the celebration feel premature. Watched them go. In 27 days, he had seen them prepare for overwhelming assault. He had seen 40,000 warships gather, a force that could level planets. But he had also seen humans empty their worlds of people. He had seen them scatter their ships. He had seen them give away their defensive plans. He had seen engineers working on mysterious mining operations. He had seen Admiral Wu's calm smile. And he had seen Dr. Sora explain how Earth's predators hunted. The pieces did not fit together yet, but had a growing, terrible suspicion that they would, very soon. The fleet would march tomorrow, 40,000 ships against perhaps 200 human vessels. The outcome should be obvious. But as returned to his observation post, he kept thinking about Ambassador's final words. Remember that you were given every opportunity to walk away. It did not sound like the words of someone about to lose. The fleet moved like a storm through space. 40,000 warships advancing in perfect formation, their weapons charged, their shields at maximum. Watched from the command bridge of Admiral's flagship, recording everything. The first human world is 3 hours ahead, an officer reported. No defensive fleet detected, minimal orbital defenses. It appears abandoned as reported. Smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The cowards ran, as expected, moved to occupy. Once we control these worlds, the humans will have no choice but to surrender completely. The fleet entered orbit around the first colony world. Instruments confirmed what the sensors showed: empty cities, no people, infrastructure intact but lifeless. The humans had truly evacuated everyone. Land occupation forces, ordered, claim this world for the Dominion. Troop carriers descended. Within 2 hours, soldiers walked the empty streets of what had been a human colony. They raised their flags. They activated communication arrays. Victory was declared. The same scene repeated at the second and third worlds. Empty, abandoned, claimed without a single shot fired. 3 worlds conquered in one day, announced to his fleet. Let the galaxy see how easily the humans fall. Now we consolidate our position and prepare to demand surrender of their remaining territories. But notice something odd. Admiral Wu's fleet had not appeared. Not a single human warship had tried to defend the colonies. The scattered ships he had seen before were still scattered, still moving in those strange patterns that made no sense. "Where are they?" asked. "Hiding," said dismissively. "Terrified, let them hide. We now control the territory they claimed. We have won." On the second day of occupation, the first human ships appeared. But they did not attack the conquered worlds. Instead, small, fast vessels struck supply convoys heading to the rear positions. Hit and run, strike and retreat, never staying to fight a full battle. "Cowards!" roared when he received reports of destroyed supply ships. "They attack our weakest vessels and run." Captain led many of these raids, managed to intercept one of his communications to human command. The captain's voice was calm, almost casual. "Supply convoy destroyed at Sector 7, moving to Sector 12. No pursuit detected. They are staying with the main fleet." "Confirmed," came Admiral Wu's response. "Continue harassment operations. Do not engage their main force." Over the next week, the pattern continued. Forces occupied the 3 worlds, establishing garrisons and supply lines. Human raiders struck everywhere except the main fleet, destroying transports, attacking communication relays, ambushing repair vessels. Had to divert ships to protect his supply lines. Then more ships to protect the ships protecting the supply lines. His 40,000 ship fleet began to spread out, divided between occupation duty, supply protection, and patrol routes. "This is not war," complained. "This is pest control. They will not face us in battle." But notice that the human pests were very effective. Resources were being stretched thin. Ships that should have been ready for combat were now escorting supply runs or guarding empty buildings on occupied worlds. On the 10th day, Dr. Sara appeared on every communication channel simultaneously. Her face filled every screen in the fleet. "Greetings, Dominion," she said, her voice pleasant. "This is a message from humanity. You were warned. You were given 30 days to reconsider. You chose to invade our territory." Tried to cut the transmission, but his technicians could not. Somehow, the humans had complete access to the communication systems. "We want you to understand something," Sora continued. "You believe you have one because you occupy territory, but we told you, we do not defend places, we defend people. Our people are safe. Your people are now exactly where we want them." The transmission showed a star map. It highlighted the 3 occupied worlds, the supply lines, the spread-out fleet positions. "You evolved as apex predators on your world," Sora said. "So did we, but Earth's greatest predators did not hunt alone. They hunted in packs. They were patient. They let prey come to them. They appeared weak so the prey would feel confident." She smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "You were given detailed layouts of our colonies. You used that information to feel confident, to choose the easiest landing zones, to position your forces efficiently. Thank you for following our guidance so precisely." The transmission ended abruptly. Stared at the blank screen, and for the first time, saw uncertainty in the Admiral's eyes. "What did she mean?" an officer asked nervously. Then the trap was sprung. On all three occupied worlds, simultaneously, the ground began to open. Hidden facilities revealed themselves, but these were not defensive bunkers. They were weapons platforms. Massive orbital defense cannons rose from underground storage. Missile systems emerged from what had appeared to be civilian buildings. Energy weapons activated from concealed positions in the colony infrastructure. The forces on the ground had walked right into prepared kill zones. The colony layouts the humans had provided were accurate, but they had not shown the hidden weapon systems installed during the 30-day preparation period. Engineers' mining operations on asteroids had been weapon construction. All ships evasive action, screamed. Get our ground forces out of there. But it was too late. The orbital platforms opened fire simultaneously across 47 different positions on the three worlds. The garrison forces were devastated. Ships trying to evacuate soldiers were caught in coordinated strikes from multiple angles. Watched in horror as 8,000 warships were destroyed in the first 3 hours. The humans had turned the occupied colonies into death traps. Then Admiral Wu's main fleet appeared, but not where anyone expected. While the fleet was focused on the three colonies, trying to evacuate forces and respond to the ambush, the human fleet emerged behind the rear positions. They had been hiding in the asteroid fields the whole time. The scattered ships had actually been carefully positioned to strike at them from behind while they were distracted by the colony defenses. All ships turned to engage the human fleet, ordered. But his fleet was spread out, disorganized, and under fire from 2 directions. The careful formation that had looked so impressive was gone. Ships that had been protecting supply lines were far from the battle. Vessels assigned to garrison duty were trapped by orbital fire. The fleet that had been 40,000 strong was functionally split into dozens of smaller groups. The humans attacked with precision. Their smaller fleet picked apart the divided forces, focusing fire on isolated groups, then moving before reinforcements could arrive. They did not try to fight the entire armada. They fought small pieces of it, over and over. Instruments recorded a message from captain to his fleet. Remember, we do not fight for glory. We fight to protect our people and end this war. Minimum casualties on both sides where possible, but we fight to win. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it finally ended, they had lost nearly 15,000 ships. The humans had lost fewer than 50. Admiral's flagship was damaged but intact. He stared at the tactical display in shock. How? We outnumbered them. We had superior position. You did exactly what we wanted. A voice came over the communication system. Admiral Wu's face appeared on the screen. We gave you empty colonies to occupy. We gave you layouts to make you comfortable. We scattered our ships so you would think us disorganized. We evacuated our people so you would think us weak. Wu's expression was sad but firm. You did not fight humans, Admiral. You fought our strategy, and you lost to it before the first shot was fired. This is not honorable combat, protested. This is deception, trickery. This is war, Wu said quietly. War is not about honor. It is about protecting your people and achieving your objectives with minimum loss of life. You wanted to take our worlds by force. We stopped you. That is what war is. The communication ended. Looked at the tactical display, at the devastated fleet, at the human ships regrouping efficiently. The humans had been outnumbered 200 to 1. They had given up 3 worlds without a fight. They had appeared confused and disorganized, and they had turned all of that into a trap that had destroyed a third of the fleet in 1 day. Retreat, said quietly. We retreat to defensive positions. But suspected it was too late for that. He had seen the look in Admiral Wu's eyes. The humans were not fighting to defend anymore. They were fighting to end this war, and they would not stop until it was finished. The predators had revealed themselves, and the prey had walked right into their jaws. 3 months into the war, the galaxy expected them to retreat and sue for peace. They had lost 15,000 ships in one battle. Any reasonable species would withdraw, lick their wounds, and negotiate. But Admiral could not accept defeat. The Dominion had never surrendered. Their pride would not allow it. So they fortified their remaining positions and prepared to defend their own territory. The galaxy expected the humans to accept this stalemate. They had defended their world successfully. They could claim victory and end the conflict. Instead, the humans advanced. Watch from his observation post as Admiral Wu's fleet moved into space, not in a massive invasion force, but in small, coordinated groups. They struck military installations, disabled defense platforms, and moved on before reinforcements could arrive. "They are pressing the attack," reported to his home government. "The humans are not satisfied with defensive victory. They are pursuing what they call total war." The term confused many species in the galaxy. War was fought for limited objectives. You wanted territory or resources or political concessions. You fought until you got them or until the cost became too high, then you negotiated peace. But humans seemed to have a different concept. They fought to achieve complete victory, to remove the enemy's ability to threaten them ever again. Captain led the deep space reconnaissance missions. His ships had been mapping military facilities for months, even during the supposed peace negotiations. Now those maps proved their value. Gained access to human military communications, and listened with growing concern. "Target Package 7 Alpha confirmed," Captain reported. "Weapons production facility, coordinates matching intelligence gathered during negotiation period." Matching intelligence gathered during negotiation period. Repeated those words several times. The humans had been preparing for this war before it even started. They had used the 30 days of peace talks to gather information, to map their enemy, to prepare strategies. While they had been celebrating their superiority, the humans had been studying them. On the 75th day of the war, Commander executed what the humans called Operation Checkmate. Received the battle reports and could not believe what he was reading. Simultaneous raids on 214 military installations across their entire empire. Not to destroy them completely, but to deliver a message. Each attacked facility received the same transmission. "We can reach anywhere. We know where everything is. We choose not to destroy you. Choose peace." The attacks lasted exactly 1 hour each. The humans would strike, disable key systems, broadcast their message, and withdraw before forces could respond in strength. No facility was destroyed. No civilian infrastructure was targeted. But the message was clear. "You are not safe anywhere." Admiral called for an emergency council session. When the various species assembled, he stood before them, his pride clearly wounded. "The humans must be stopped," he declared. "They have violated the conventions of war. They are attacking deep into our territory, targeting military facilities across our entire empire. This is excessive force. This is barbarism." Ambassador stood calmly. "You invaded our territory with 40,000 ships. You threatened to burn our worlds to ash. You said you would exterminate our species. We are simply ensuring you cannot threaten us again." "We wish to negotiate surrender," shouted. "No," said simply. The chamber fell silent. Species did not refuse surrender offers. That was not how galactic conflicts worked. "You do not have the right to refuse our surrender," said, his voice shaking with rage or fear or both. "You lost that right when you chose this war," Captain stood beside. "You will surrender when our terms are met. Full withdrawal from all contested territories, reparations for the cost of the war, demilitarized zones along our borders, and war crimes trials for your commanders who ordered attacks on civilian targets." "Civilian targets? We attacked no civilians." "You intended to," Commander said quietly. "We have recordings of your orders. You plan to use our civilian population as hostages if we did not surrender immediately. Your own communication logs prove this. Swing cases twitched. He had heard those communications himself. They had indeed planned to threaten human civilians if needed. But how did the humans have access to internal military communications? The answer came quickly. Specialist, a young human cyber warfare expert, appeared on the chamber's displays. She sat in what appeared to be a comfortable chair, drinking some kind of hot beverage. "Hello, Galactic Council," she said cheerfully. And I have been inside computer networks for about 53 days now, since before the war started actually." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Admiral's face changed colors. "We have every military communication you have sent," continued. "Every order, every plan, every secret transmission. We also have your complete inventory records, your troop positions, your supply chain logistics, and your personal correspondence." She took a sip of her drink. "We know everything about your military. We have known it for months. And just so everyone understands the situation clearly, I am going to broadcast some of this information now." Before anyone could stop her, the displays showed military documents, classified reports, secret communications, plans that had never been meant for outside eyes. "This is piracy, this is illegal," roared. "So was your invasion," said calmly. "You chose war. You chose to threaten our existence. We are simply better at war than you are." Broadcast continued for 3 hours. By the end, every species in the galaxy knew the full extent of military capabilities, their secret plans, their hidden weaknesses. The Dominion's entire strategic position was laid bare for all to see. Watched as power collapsed like a building with its foundation removed. Other species who had feared them saw how hollow that fear had been. Allies began distancing themselves. The government, unable to keep any secrets, began to fracture as different factions blamed each other for the disaster. Within 48 hours of broadcast, the government fell apart in civil conflict. Admiral was arrested by his own people, accused of leading them into an unwinnable war. A new government formed quickly, led by representatives who had opposed the invasion from the start. They contacted Ambassador immediately. "We surrender," their representative said. "Unconditionally, please let us negotiate terms." This time nodded. "We will accept your surrender under the conditions stated: full withdrawal, reparations, demilitarized zones, and trials for those who planned war crimes." "But Admiral and his supporters have already been imprisoned by our own people. Is that not sufficient?" Captain shook his head. "War crimes will be judged by neutral parties, not by those who committed them. The trials will be conducted under galactic law with all species represented." The new government agreed. They had no choice. The humans had not just defeated them militarily. They had defeated them completely at every level: military, intelligence, public relations, and strategic planning. Finalized his observations of the war. 92 days from start to finish. The Dominion, a power that had controlled 300 star systems and threatened species for thousands of years, had been utterly defeated by a species barely 40 years in space. But what disturbed most was a conversation he had with Admiral Wu after the surrender. "Your cyber warfare capabilities," said. "You infiltrated their entire network before the war even began." "Yes," Wu confirmed. "During the peace negotiations." "Yes." "You were preparing for war while talking of peace." Wu looked at him steadily. "We were preparing to defend ourselves. There is a human saying, 'Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.' We hoped they would choose peace. We prepared for them to choose war." "But you knew they would attack." "We suspected," Wu admitted. "Species who issue ultimatums backed by massive military force rarely intend to negotiate fairly. So yes, we prepared. We gathered intelligence. We positioned assets. We developed strategies, all while genuinely offering them the chance to walk away. And when they did not walk away, then we executed the plans we had prepared. Wu's expression softened slightly. Do you know why humans are good at war, observer? Tell me. Because we hate it, because we know what it costs, because we have fought ourselves for thousands of years and learned every terrible lesson war has to teach. We do not fight for glory or honor. We fight to protect our people and to ensure the threat is ended completely. That is why we win. Recorded those words carefully. They would form the conclusion of his report. The humans had not won because they were stronger. They had won because they understood war at a level most species could not comprehend. They had turned every disadvantage into an advantage. They had used the enemy's expectations against them. They had prepared for war while offering peace. And when war came, they had prosecuted it with a cold efficiency that left no room for the enemy to recover. The galaxy had witnessed humanity march to war, and now the galaxy understood why they should be feared. 6 months after the war ended, returned to the Galactic Council station. His report was complete. 10,000 pages of observations, analysis, and documentation. Every species in the galaxy would read it. Every government would use it to reshape their understanding of humanity. The council chamber was full. Representatives from over 100 species had gathered. They wanted to hear conclusions. They wanted to understand what had happened. Stood at the center of the chamber, his report displayed for all to see. He began his presentation simply. I witnessed humanity go to war, he said. I observed both sides. I documented everything. What I learned changed my understanding of what makes a species dangerous. The chamber listened in silence. The lost because they did not understand their enemy, continued. They saw humans as weak because they were new to space. They saw human ships as inferior because there were fewer of them. They saw human caution as cowardice. Every assumption they made was wrong. He displayed tactical maps from the war. Humans do not fight the way most species fight. Most of us evolved with clear advantages. Strength, speed, natural weapons, armor. We learn to use our advantages directly. We fight in ways that make sense to us. Humans evolved differently. They were both predator and prey. They were hunted while they learned to hunt. This made them develop unique survival traits. Showed biological data on humans. Physical endurance. Humans can maintain combat operations 3 times longer than most species. Their bodies are designed for persistence, not burst performance. In a long war, they simply outlast opponents. Pattern recognition. Human brains are exceptional at finding connections between seemingly unrelated information. This makes them excellent at intelligence work, at predicting enemy actions, at seeing weaknesses others miss. Social cooperation. Humans evolved in groups. They can coordinate millions of individuals toward a single goal. Their military operates with a level of integration that most species cannot match. Ambassador was present for the presentation. When invited questions, she stood. Observer's report is accurate, she said, but I want to clarify something important. We did not want this war. We gave the every opportunity to choose peace. We evacuated our civilians first because we value individual lives over territory. We prepared for war while offering peace because we have learned, through painful history, that hopping for peace while being unprepared for war leads to disaster. Captain stood beside her. The Galactic Council operates under certain assumptions about warfare. You fight for limited objectives. You stop when costs become too high. You negotiate when both sides are exhausted. These assumptions work when all parties share them. But they only work if both sides follow those rules, Commander added. If one side is willing to fight to total victory, then the other side must be prepared to do the same or accept complete defeat. They were prepared to exterminate us. We could not respond with limited warfare. We had to respond with overwhelming victory. The council speaker, An ancient being who had seen many conflicts, asked the question on everyone's mind. You say you did not want war, yet you were clearly prepared for it in ways that suggest you expected it. How do we reconcile this? Captain answered, there is an old human saying, the warrior who cultivates his arts and prepares for war is the one who can achieve peace. We study war extensively precisely because we do not want to fight. We prepare thoroughly precisely because we hope we never need to use that preparation. Your cyber warfare capabilities, another delegate said. You infiltrated networks before the war began. Is this not aggressive espionage? Specialist, who had been invited to explain her work, stood. She looked nervous speaking to the full council, but her voice was clear. We monitor any species that threatens us, she said simply. Is this different from what others do, though we're gathering intelligence on us? So were a dozen other species. The difference is we were better at it. She pulled up data displays. Humans have developed advanced computer systems because we needed them. Our home world, Earth, has billions of people. Managing that many individuals requires sophisticated information technology. When we entered space, we brought that expertise with us. So you admit to spying on other species? The delegate pressed. We admit to protecting ourselves, replied. If you threaten humans, we will learn everything we can about you. If you do not threaten us, we have no interest in your secrets. Notice that this answer did not comfort many species in the chamber. Several looked worried. How many of them had secrets the humans might have already discovered? The presentation continued for hours, showed how humans had used psychology, deception, intelligence gathering, and precise military force to defeat an enemy that vastly outnumbered them. He explained their concept of total war and why it made them so effective. Finally, he reached his conclusion. Humans are dangerous, said slowly, not because they are strong, but because they are intelligent. Not because they have powerful weapons, but because they know how to use them effectively. Not because they love war, but because they understand it completely. Most species fight wars to gain advantage. Humans fight wars to end threats. This makes them more committed, more thorough, and more willing to do whatever is necessary to achieve victory. He paused, letting his words settle over the chamber. But here is what you must also understand. Humans offered peace. They gave the 30 days to reconsider. They evacuated civilians rather than use them as shields. They disabled enemy installations rather than destroying them when possible. Even in total war, they showed restraint. Ambassador stood again. We are not monsters. We are a species that has learned hard lessons about the cost of war. We know what we are capable of. That knowledge makes us careful about when we use that capability. Engineer, who had built the hidden weapons platforms, added her perspective. We spent 30 days building defenses that could destroy the fleet. We spent those same 30 days hoping we would never need to use them. When we did use them, we targeted military assets, not civilians. We fought to win, but we fought with honor. The Galactic Council debated for 3 days. Finally, they reached several decisions. First, humanity would be given a permanent seat on the Council. No longer would they be considered a minor species. They had proven themselves capable of defending their interests. Second, new articles of galactic law would be established. No species could launch a first strike against human territory without consequences. Mandatory arbitration would be required before any military action against humans. Third, and most surprisingly, humanity would be acknowledged as a protected elder species, despite their youth in space. The designation usually went to ancient civilizations with vast knowledge. The Council bent the rules because they recognized that humans had a different kind of knowledge of warfare that made them dangerous to provoke. After the formal decisions were made, found Admiral Wu in a quiet observation deck, looking at the stars. I have one more question, said, for my personal understanding, not for my report. Ask Wu replied. Why are you so good at war? I have explained the tactical and strategic reasons in my report, but there is something deeper, something I do not fully understand. Wu was quiet for a long moment. Come, let me show you something. He led to a human display terminal and pulled up historical records. Names and numbers filled the screen. Thousands of them. Millions. These are the names of humans who died in our wars against each other, Wu said softly. Every human child learns some of these names. We study our own history extensively. We know what war costs. He scrolled through the data. We fought wars for religion, for territory, for resources, for ideology. We perfected the art of killing other humans. We invented weapons of such power that we could destroy our entire world. We came close to doing it, more than once. You are good at war because you practiced on yourselves, said, understanding dawning. Yes, Wu confirmed. And we learned something from all that death and suffering. We learned that war should be avoided if at all possible, but when it cannot be avoided, it must be fought to a decisive conclusion. Prolonged wars, limited wars, wars without clear objectives cause more suffering than quick, decisive victories. He turned to face directly. That is why we gave thee every chance to choose peace. That is why we prepared so thoroughly. That is why, when they chose war, we fought to end it completely and quickly. Not because we love war, but because we hate it and know its true cost. And that is why the galaxy should fear you, said. No, Wu shook his head. The galaxy should understand us. Fear leads to conflict. Understanding leads to peace. We do not want to be feared. We want to be left alone to build, to grow, to explore. But we will never again be vulnerable. We will never again let others decide our fate. Returned to his home world shortly after. His report, titled The Sleeping Predator, Why Humanity Must Never Be Provoked, became required reading for every diplomatic corps in the galaxy. The Dominion paid reparations and accepted demilitarized zones along human borders. Admiral and his senior officers stood trial for war crimes. The people began rebuilding their society, learning to exist without the aggressive militarism that had defined them. And the humans, they returned to their worlds, to their exploration, to their building. They helped rebuild the installations they had damaged during the war. Engineer-led teams that restored infrastructure. Dr. Sara established medical exchanges to help treat wounded soldiers from both sides. Captain retired from military service and became an ambassador, teaching other species about human culture. Commander wrote a book on intelligence gathering that became a bestseller across the galaxy. Specialist gave lectures on cybersecurity, helping other species protect themselves better. Ambassador continued her diplomatic work, forging new alliances and ensuring that humanity's reputation was based on understanding, not fear. Admiral Wu remained in command of the human fleet, watchful and ready, but hoping he would never need to fight another war. Visited human space 1 year later. He found it changed from when he had first arrived. More colonies, more trade, more exchange with other species. The humans had moved past the war, though they had not forgotten it. We remember, told him when they met again. We remember what we had to do. We remember what it cost. We remember so that we never become casual about violence. That is our promise to the galaxy. And if someone threatens you again, asked. Smiled, but her eyes were serious. Then we will give them 30 days to reconsider, just like we gave we will hope they choose peace. We will prepare for them to choose war. And if they choose war. She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. The galaxy had witnessed humanity march to war. They had seen why humans should be feared. But more importantly, they had learned why humans should be respected, understood, and most of all, never provoked without very good reason. Because when humans fight, they fight to win, and they are very, very good at it.